ladies and gentlemen. How are we doing this fine evening?
Wonderful.
I'm going to start off my presentation. I'm going to talk about whether or not violent video games promote violent behavior, not just in children, but to adults, and whether they cause aggression and bullying, up to even whether they promote like killing. But let me start by saying that since the 1980s, video games have been played by millions of people all across the world. So, like, according to Michael Gonchar of New York Times, a Learning Center online blog, youngsters who develop a gaming habit can become slightly more aggressive, yet it is not at all clear whether over long periods of time that such a habit increases the likelihood that a person will commit like a violent crime, like assault or even like murder. Like, there's just so many few cases. But in cases like that, it's usually that the person that does that either has like a poor family history or like upbringing, or that they're mentally unstable. And according to HuffingtonPost.com, scientists have known that since the late 1980s that playing video games can improve reaction time, hand-eye coordination, and multitasking. Because if you're playing like online games, the violent games do have online communities where you can like interact with people, and it kind of like boosts communication. But also, like, the competition can get so fierce that people are yelling at each other. But, like, video games, according to dailychildren.com, author Hannah Muniz of dailychildren.com, says that violent video games can reduce stress by distracting adult gamers like myself from the pressures of everyday life. Because, like, I go to school full-time, I go to work full-time, and I try to keep up with my family and friends and my girlfriend. But, like, I like to go home and just relax, play like an hour or two, not too much, because like that can distract me from like my chores, my studies. But just like a healthy dosage every day can help improve stress-related problems and calm nerves down. But like my main point about whether violent video games cause bad behavior or not, it depends on like family upbringing and the like nature versus nurture debate. It depends on the person. It depends like what game they're playing, because there's like Call of Duty where it's just shooting, but like God of War and Gears of War, those are like really like way past like 17. Like that's just too gruesome. Like the age the age level is 17 plus. So like gaming stores like try really hard to make sure they only sell it to mature audiences, like 17 and older. And when they do sell it to a parent and they got their child with them, they try to make sure they know that the game is like really violent and you got drugs and cursing and just violent behavior all in all. So like, don't let your kids play if you don't really want them to play it. And like I said before, like any cases of like really violent behavior, like bullying or assault or even murder, or like those are just so rare cases that it can't really be studied right now, because that's just like, you wouldn't expect a sane family, like an upbringing where someone was like, in family upbringing where the person is, a sane person, there's nothing wrong with them. You wouldn't expect them to like even play a game and just turn into someone bad, right? But like if someone was brought up in a household where they weren't, brought up right, or taught the fundamentals about the difference between a fantasy world and the real world, where if you die in the real world, you don't come back. Because in games are meant to like reenact like fantasies, I guess, like you wouldn't do in normal everyday life. It's just you can be a totally different person in a totally different world. Right there. It's just a fantasy world. You got to teach them that you can't do any of that in real life. It's just purely for fundamental reasons. It's just for fun, really. And honestly, I do think it should only be for mature audiences, because we assume that once you reach the age of 17, you know the difference between, Call of Duty and real life, because like that's just common sense to, bring your child up to speed with that as they're growing up. I really believe a strong communication at the beginning of a child's life, talking to them, being like not their best friend, but get close to them so you can teach them, so they know that it should be a good person overall, that they need to learn right, and just these basic communication skills early on will help them learn just basic skills in life. like not killing people or bullying people. In conclusion, and I've said this, I've beaten this horse to death and revitalized it and killed it again. I've said this so many times, but communication from the early part of life can really help. If you don't teach your child that, they might not learn. They might learn from their friends. They might play at their friends' house, actually, violent video games. So even if you don't allow them to, and they might learn from somewhere else, at least teach them. And like violent movies, TVs, poetry, I guess, and books. Those are out there too. Your child might read those. So just, let them know that they're just purely for entertainment reasons, and should only be used for just the entertainment of the player or the reader or the viewer. And really, that's just what video games do. They're there to entertain people and just, I guess, have a good social experience. I thank you for your time this evening. I thank you all again. This is my last presentation I'll be doing. And have a good evening.